And real astronauts are extremely intelligent scientists who've been tested to the limits of their physical and mental fitness. But this was really not women in space. It was stupid people in space. This was the lowest IQ space crew that has ever been launched from Earth.
They promised a giant leap for womankind. But what they got instead? A front row seat to one of the biggest PR train wrecks of the decade. Blue Origin's shiny NS-31 capsule, boasting an all-female crew handpicked for empowerment optics, blasted off on what was meant to be a milestone in modern space history. The mission lasted just 11 minutes, 4 of those in zero gravity, but what happened next would outlast any orbit. Instead of applause, the mission ignited a digital firestorm. Memes exploded within minutes. The internet didn't see astronauts, they saw influencers in helmets. Hashtags like astronauts and Space Karen trended faster than the capsule could descend.
They're treating her like she was in Nam. Where are my babies? My babies. Like she was almost dead. Here's Katy Perry. Kisses the ground. Right. You were in such danger.
Commentators called it a billion-dollar elevator ride with mood lighting. And what should have been a high point for representation in STEM was quickly downgraded to a red carpet stunt in low Earth orbit. Katy Perry, in full glam, descended the capsule ramp like a returning war hero, kissed the Texas dirt, and delivered a monologue about spiritual rebirth. Gayle King thanked Oprah, then God, and clutched her chest like she'd just survived a moon landing. And Jeff Bezos? He just stood there grinning like a man who knew exactly what headlines he had just bought. The message was clear. This wasn't just a space flight. It was a spectacle. But the spectacle didn't land the way they'd hoped. From late-night comedians to TikTok teens, the internet had one response: cringe. Even fast food chains like Wendy's joined the roast, tweeting that the only thing Katy explored was her camera's front-facing lens. Supporters who expected to celebrate a breakthrough moment for women in space were suddenly asking, what exactly was accomplished here?
She too. Okay, kisses the ground. Somebody already, you should be kissing Oprah. Oprah's there. Kiss Oprah. She's worth far more to you than the ground. Thank you, Jesus. Truly, it's like they're right back from Nam.
And that's where this story truly lifts off. Not with the rocket, but with the fallout. How did a so-called historic launch spiral into the year's most merciless mockery? What really happened behind the glossy visuals and empowerment messaging? And why did even other celebrities turn against it? Because if this was meant to inspire a generation, the only thing it truly inspired was backlash. But Wendy's tweet? That was only the opening shot. It didn't take long. The moment Blue Origin hit publish on the highlight reel of NS-31's big girl boss in space launch, the internet collectively side-eyed the entire thing and then set it on fire. Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, didn't matter the platform. Everyone had the same reaction.
What did they do?
That was one small step for womankind, one giant leap backwards for mankind, as far as I can see.
Wait, that's it? That's the whole flight? The backlash didn't creep in slowly. It crashed down like a satellite out of orbit. People weren't mad. They were laughing. And not in a, ha-ha, this is empowering kind of way. In a full-blown roast session kind of way. The memes came at light speed. One TikTok user stitched a clip of Katy Perry floating midair next to a crying baby in zero gravity, captioned, "Me after drinking 2 Red Bulls." Others compared the launch to a Disneyland ride, only shorter and more expensive. Someone even edited the footage to play over the Wii Sports theme. But the true cherry on top? Wendy's? Yes, the fast food chain.
An all-female Blue Origin space crew with celebrities including Katy Perry, Lauren Sanchez and Gayle King has been hilariously mocked after it returned to Earth following an 11-minute trip into the Earth's atmosphere.
Roasting Katy Perry by tweeting, "She went to space and still couldn't find the plot." That tweet alone got more likes than Blue Origin's official launch video. Within hours, the term #astronauts, with emphasis on not, was trending. Commenters dubbed the mission the Space Kardashian Initiative. Even diehard fans were confused. One viral post said, "Wait, I thought they were going to stay in orbit for like days, not float for 4 minutes and call it a feminist milestone." The sentiment was clear. The whole thing felt off. People weren't just laughing, they were angry at how little this delivered. The tone-deaf celebration, the glam selfies in zero-G, the choreographed quotes about divine feminine rebirth. It all felt more like an overproduced Instagram story than a legitimate step forward for women in science. And remember, this wasn't just a private trip. It was hyped by every major outlet, repackaged as a symbolic leap for womankind, and sold with the emotional depth of a Hallmark card.
Katy Perry jumped out of the aircraft and kissed the ground in a painfully cringe moment that has been roasted online.
But once the public saw through the production, the trust broke. Fast. Even celebrities joined in. Emily Ratajkowski and Olivia Wilde both shaded the mission in interviews, with Emily joking that she's had more transformative experiences in an Uber. Brutal. And it wasn't just one-off comments. It was a pile-on. What was framed as inspirational was now being called insulting, not just to real astronauts, but to audiences who genuinely wanted to believe in the mission's purpose. Because when the applause is forced and the message feels bought, even the most well-meaning launch can come crashing down. And just when things couldn't get more uncomfortable, Katy Perry went live. Eyes glassy, voice trembling, clutching what looked like a delicate embroidered daisy she apparently carried during the flight, Katy delivered what she must have thought was her redemption arc. But to much of the internet, it came off like a bizarre mix of Oscar acceptance speech and spiritual TED Talk. "We weren't just taking up space," she said, pausing dramatically. "We were making space for the future." Her words echoed through the live stream like a motivational poster you'd find in a dusty yoga studio. And for a moment, there was silence.
Katy!
This commentator said, "Cool story. She got to ride in a rocket with other women."
Until the internet exploded all over again. Katy went on to describe the 11-minute flight as supernatural. She compared it to a rebirth. She said it was a journey of love and belonging and a divine feminine moment. She even thanked Gayle King for holding her hand, emotionally and literally, through it all. It wasn't just a space flight. It was, in her words, a moment that cracked open the soul. But viewers weren't buying it. Not even a little. In fact, many were outright baffled. Why was she quoting Rumi after a joyride? Why was she staring directly into the camera instead of out the window at Earth's curvature? And why was she acting like she'd just returned from a 6-month exile on Mars instead of a quick tourist hop to the upper atmosphere? Her speech, which may have been meant to humanize the mission, ended up making it feel even more performative. The metaphors were heavy, the tone was overly poetic, and the reaction? Brutal. One viral tweet put it best. Katy Perry went to space and came back as a horoscope. Another read, "She's giving eat, pray, float." Even her diehard fans started to pull away, questioning whether the whole trip had been about self-discovery or just self-promotion. The footage of Katy in the capsule, perfect makeup, holding a flower, gazing intensely into the onboard camera instead of Earth, didn't help. It felt curated, staged, like a perfume commercial set in low gravity.
It is the highest high, and it is surrender to the unknown, trust, and this whole journey is not just about going to space.
And if that wasn't enough, she doubled down. She insisted that anyone who questions the risk we took has no idea what we endured. She likened the capsule ride to the same dangers real astronauts face. "Anything could have happened," she said breathlessly. "We trained hard. We sacrificed. We were brave." Cue the collective online eye roll. Because here's the thing. Most people do understand what astronauts go through. And it's a little more intense than sitting in a pressurized lounge chair for 11 minutes. Real astronauts undergo years of grueling training. They live in space for months. They conduct life-saving repairs on billion-dollar equipment while floating in vacuum. Katy Perry comparing her suborbital spin to that level of sacrifice didn't just feel tone-deaf. It felt insulting. Her attempt to steer the narrative toward empowerment and emotional vulnerability fell flat. What she hoped would be a mic-drop moment of inspiration instead became a masterclass in how not to handle public backlash. And the more she talked, the worse it got. Because in trying to rewrite the story, she only made people look closer. And that's when Megyn Kelly picked up the mic and absolutely went nuclear. "Not women in space, stupid people in space," Megyn Kelly snapped to 3 million viewers. She mocked the capsule's 11-minute hop, the longest elevator ride to nowhere.
Perry was quoted as saying, "We're putting the ass in astronauts." Okay, all right. You go, girl. This is so...
This is why she needs empowering, because she keeps revealing her stupidity like that, and we have to boost her back up.
Labeled Perry's crew the lowest IQ manifest ever launched, and quipped that Gayle King should thank Oprah more than gravity. Kelly's rant went viral because it sliced through glitter and marketing slogans. Real astronauts endure months in orbit, life-threatening re-entry, punishing training. NS-31's passengers, she argued, endured custom-fitted flight suits designed to cradle curves for Instagram. The takedown crystallized a feeling mainstream outlets were tiptoeing around. Spectacle had steamrolled substance. Government officials soon underscored that sting. The U.S. Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, quietly reminded reporters that FAA commercial astronaut wings require crew members to perform safety-critical roles. Translation: press a button, fix a valve, do something beyond posing. NS-31's passengers were tourists, not astronauts. Period. Overnight, astronaut not memes replaced rocket emojis with cruise ship anchors. Blue Origin's empowerment narrative suddenly had a bureaucratic scarlet asterisk, and critics asked why the company had framed a luxury product as a feminist milestone, which pointed fingers straight back at the mastermind himself. Insiders whispered that Bezos' fiancée, Lauren Sanchez, curated the lineup to maximize cross-demographic sparkle. Pop icon, morning show anchor, activist, ex-NASA engineer, documentary producer, and herself, a helicopter pilot with an 8-figure Instagram crowd. Empowerment slogans plastered flight suits. Limited edition merch dropped online mid-launch.
Sorry, but I'm like, why are you... Don't show your boobs. Don't talk about your ass. Don't get your specially made spacesuit so that we can make sure to see all your curves.
Critics noted the capsule's design still resembled a certain anatomy joke from Bezos' very first flight, reminding everyone the billionaire loves symbolism, intentional or not. Meanwhile, Blue Origin quietly pivoted marketing copy to luxury space tourism, distancing itself from earlier STEM-heavy drafts. But while glossy posters boasted progress, real pioneers were fighting for airtime. Just weeks earlier, 3 NASA astronauts had finally touched down after 8 months stuck aboard an aging ISS module plagued by valve failures and dwindling supplies. Their re-entry blackout lasted longer than NS-31's entire flight. Yet morning shows that hailed Katy's spiritual awakening barely mentioned the life-risking repairs that kept a $150 billion laboratory alive. Space history buffs fumed. Valentina Tereshkova orbited Earth 48 times back in 1963, so why was an 11-minute hop being painted as the new benchmark for women? The contrast underscored a brutal truth. Airtime often follows celebrity, not achievement. And for Katy, the attention boomeranged fast.
What did these women do? Like, honestly, one is sleeping with a billionaire who created this program and is jetting people to outer space for like 10 minutes, for as long as like your average YouTube video takes.
Up until now, Katy Perry had always seemed untouchable. A pop icon with diamond-certified hits, a fashion chameleon, and a social media juggernaut with millions of loyal fans. Perry was the kind of celebrity who could ride out any awkward press moment with a wink, a meme, or a catchy new single. But this time, not even a glitter cannon could save her. The backlash from the Blue Origin stunt didn't just trend, it lingered. It morphed. It started hitting where it hurt most, her fan base. What began as internet trolling evolved into full-on fandom fracture. Twitter threads, once filled with glitter hearts and Katy Cats for life, suddenly sounded more like damage control meetings. One viral thread titled Katy Perry's PR Black Hole racked up over 100,000 likes, detailing all the cringe moments from the launch. The way she stared dead-eyed into the camera instead of out the window, the daisy she carried like a prop from a sci-fi ballet. The spiritual speech that sounded more like a rejected Euphoria monologue than anything related to aerospace fans didn't just feel confused, they felt betrayed. This was supposed to be a celebration of women in STEM, a tribute to progress, a spotlight on female pioneers in an industry that's notoriously male-dominated. But instead, it felt like Katy had hijacked the moment to push her personal brand of celestial girlbossing, complete with cryptic hashtags and branded merch drops that coincided a little too perfectly with the launch timeline. And the numbers told the story. Her Instagram follower count dipped by over 120,000 in a matter of days. Comments across her posts shifted from heart emojis to things like, "You didn't go to space. You went on a promo tour."
Okay. They had nothing to do with any of the engineering. They're just looking for famous faces who could draw attention to Jeff Bezos' weird little rocket. His first little rocket looks exactly like a penis.
Reddit threads under r/popculture and r/notlikeothergirls called her out for using feminism as a prop while real astronauts went unnamed and uncelebrated. One post read, "We had Christina Koch spend nearly a year in space doing actual science. We had Jessica Meir running spacewalks. But somehow Katy Perry is the face of women in space now? Make it make sense." And just when it looked like the worst had passed, Katy tried to shift the narrative again. In a follow-up interview, she hinted that misogyny might be playing a role in the hate, that if there were men on board, the mission would have been celebrated, not ridiculed. A fair point, in theory, but in this context, it came off like a last-ditch attempt to deflect. People weren't mocking the fact that women went to space. They were mocking how it was packaged, like a luxury yoga retreat with rocket fuel. And the internet didn't let it slide. Side-by-side started circulating. One showed Katy mid-flight, holding her daisy with her hair perfectly styled next to Christina Koch floating upside down while repairing a space module. Another compared the 11-minute suborbital bounce with a graphic of the ISS and the phrase, "This is not the same thing. Stop acting like it is." Even journalists who had once been friendly to Perry's image began quietly pulling back. Her next planned TV appearance was mysteriously canceled. A rumored brand partnership with a wellness app quietly vanished. YouTubers who previously praised her for reinventing herself started doing think pieces titled, "Did Katy Perry just end her own relevance?" And while no one's saying this will end her career, Katy Perry is far too established to vanish overnight. It's clear the spaceflight stunt bruised her reputation in a way she never anticipated. It wasn't just a misstep, it was a public self-own, broadcast in 4K from the edge of space. Because when fans start laughing instead of cheering, when loyalists start calling out the messaging as hollow, and when even your supporters start using the phrase mid-orbit meltdown unironically, you've lost control of the narrative. And with every glittery soundbite, it slipped further away. When progress is measured in photo ops, we're orbiting nowhere. NS-31 could have spotlighted unsung female engineers, funded scholarships, or at least spent a few days running microgravity experiments. Instead, Hollywood theatrics met zero G, and the world saw through the glitter. The capsule landed safely, but Blue Origin's empowerment narrative crashed hard, leaving scorched hashtags in its wake. As billionaire rockets multiply, one question will echo louder. Is this genuine exploration or curated escapism for the ultra-rich? Think about that the next time you see a celebrity floating in a tin can claiming enlightenment. And if you're hungry for the next PR train wreck hurtling toward the stratosphere, smash that subscribe button. Because the bigger the ego, the bigger the fallout, and we'll be there when it comes plummeting back to Earth.